Hello, everyone. This is Yoko. In this channel, I'll be sharing information in English that I've gathered myself because events happening in China often don't get reported in other countries. I gather information from multiple sources, so I'd appreciate your comments on the content of the videos. As English is not my native language, I use an AI speaker to read out the information. If you find it interesting, please subscribe to the channel and show your support. Now, let me introduce you to the wild world of China. Today, I want to talk about strikes. Recently, discussions about strikes have become rare in Japan. However, in the past, strikes occasionally made the news in Japan. When we talk about strikes, there is an image of labor unions calling for them. Therefore, when people think of strikes, they often associate them with socialism or communism. This perception is not limited to Japan but is prevalent in other countries as well. In countries outside Japan, left-wing forces, including those associated with communism or socialism, are often seen as allies of the workers. This is true in China, where the Communist Party is in power. When strikes occur in China, the Communist Party doesn't portray itself as an advocate for the workers. Instead, it tends to downplay or control the spread of information about strikes. Therefore, people outside China might be more aware of frequent strikes in the country than those living within it. I conducted a search on a Chinese website, and the top result was about a strike at Guizhou in Italy, followed by strikes in Greece and the United States. This indicates that news about strikes in foreign countries tends to dominate Chinese search results. Despite the prevailing image of the Communist Party being pro-worker, the reality is different. Strikes do occur in China, but the government may suppress information about them. It seems that the Communist Party's primary focus is not necessarily supporting workers but rather maintaining control. As a recent trend, strikes in China are not only about wage issues but also related to companies moving operations to other countries due to rising labor costs. For example, a large-scale strike occurred at a shoe factory in Guizhou, where workers protested against the company's decision to move the factory to Indonesia, closing it down at the end of this year. This move is part of a broader shift in manufacturing from China to countries with lower labor costs, such as Vietnam. However, from the perspective of a third party in China, many are saying that it's pointless to strike when the factory is already scheduled for closure. The factory itself has announced that it will close in just one more month, so even if the factory's operations have temporarily stopped, the closure has only been moved up by a month. Therefore, the damage to the company might not be as significant, and I also think that might be the case. As a result, what will happen is a large number of people will face unemployment. Moreover, when Chinese companies close factories, there's often no guarantee for the workers who have been working there. This lack of guarantee is quite common. I know this because in Japan, when companies close factories, they usually provide proper guarantees, and this becomes news. In Japan, it's considered standard practice to do so, but in China, where such practices are not common, it becomes newsworthy when they do occur. This connects to the earlier discussion about Walmart shifting to Vietnam. Currently, the manufacturing sector in China is losing its competitiveness in terms of pricing. Foreign companies are leaving China, and Chinese companies are moving their production bases to countries like Vietnam and Indonesia. As a result, in the midst of an economic downturn, unemployment is increasing. Furthermore, with the decreasing number of actively working individuals, funding for insurance and pensions becomes tighter. China not only faces the issue of an aging population but also a significant problem of the active workforce lacking employment opportunities. In essence, if a majority of the population faces hardship, while only a few enjoy prosperity, it will resemble the traditional Chinese society when the emperor was in charge. This situation is similar to when the Communist Party governs, and it's possible that the party might collapse. Whether the Communist Party regime collapses is a different discussion. For the Chinese people, such a society is considered normal. It's worth noting that there was a time when North Korea was envied in China. Currently, the situation is the opposite, and the Chinese criticize North Korea. However, there was a period when North Korea, supported by the former Soviet Union, had a better living standard than China. Therefore, the current prosperity due to the real estate bubble in China might be just a short episode in its long history, and it could rapidly return to its previous state. In the midst of these changes, if the Communist Party regime were to collapse, there would need to be alternative forces emerging. However, the Communist Party thoroughly suppresses such forces. As far as I know, the only influential force openly conducting resistance activities is the Falun Gong, but its influence within China has greatly diminished. They don't conduct public activities as they would face severe consequences if discovered. However, there are members who operate outside China and engage in continuous activities. Many of you who access deep information about China through YouTube or websites might be aware of media affiliated with Falun Gong. There are forces operating abroad conducting resistance activities, so if there is coordination among such individuals within China, the Communist Party wouldn't be safe. However, the Communist Party extensively propagates that Falun Gong is an evil cult, so it's challenging for alternative forces to gain traction. While it might be difficult for an alternative force to emerge within China, as more people face hardships, the desire for an alternative to the Communist Party might increase. Therefore, China becoming more unstable than it is now seems inevitable. That concludes today's discussion. Let's meet again next time.